Asylum seekers fear being sent to Rwanda because it's unsafe, not the country, but flying there on a Boeing plane.
They hear a bang at the door and it's the Home Office. Threat of being disappeared haunts asylum seekers amid Rwanda crackdown. Now, that phrase, disappeared, that's not... I mean, this is The Observer, so it's sort of... That's the tone you would expect. But to me, being disappeared means you're in Argentina and you get thrown out of a plane, drugged at night, never to be seen again. And that's... As unsafe as some people think Rwanda is, that is not what's going to happen to these people. So really, this is an article... it's kind of like the story we did recently about the bus not being able to leave Peckham with the asylum seekers on it, but it's like told from the other side. So it's almost like the way they do a drama and sort of flip it, and now you're coming from the other side than we did the other day, where we just covered what happened in terms of protesters stopping...
This was the bus going to the Bibi barge?
Yes, yeah, exactly. But this is also covering more generally what happens to asylum seekers. So what the article is saying is that it's describing the experience of somebody... if you're an asylum seeker, you've got to regularly check in with the Home Office to get your... to show that you're legit, and so they know where you are, and to get your financial support and so on. And this article is arguing that people won't do that if they... are worried that when they go in... Some people have been arrested. They've gone in for their appointment and they've been stopped and not released because they are somebody that the authorities would like to send to Rwanda.
Right.
But that's kind of inevitable, isn't it? Am I being heartless? I mean...
Well, maybe, but I suppose the counter would be that this might make another problem happen. It might make a worse problem, that then all of a sudden you'll have far fewer people on the books, more people in the country you don't know about, which then starts to impact the black economy because they can't afford to work. You know, they need money, they don't get the money from the state.
But then the whole point of this Rwanda thing is, to some people, is that it's preventative. So... If the message eventually gets back that if you come here, you might get sent to Rwanda, you might end up living... They talk about people going to sleep in parks and just not turning up for their appointments, trying to avoid the system altogether. Neither of those are you get to come to Britain and live comfortably. So it still has a preventative...
Am I right in thinking that only one person has voluntarily opted to go to Rwanda so far?
Yeah.
Right, OK.
And they got £3 for it as well, which more than covers their flight home.
So... What I was going to say was, because it's a bit like, you know, when you hear about celebrities in a private jet on standby, these people aren't going on a specific... It's not, you know, Rishi's Rwanda Express, if you see what I mean. They're just going on a Common Garden plane with their £3,000 and going.
No,
no.
Actually, for the volunteer one, I don't know, that's a very good point. I imagine not. I don't think there's a lot of TUI flights going for family.
Well, no, and I assumed that he'd be in either in prison or some kind of tag system. I just assumed he'd be sort of pending going. I didn't think they would just send one...
You assumed that someone that volunteered to go would be in prison?
Well, or monitored in some way. I thought that they wouldn't... I assumed that would be the case. They're sort of pending, ready to go. They've agreed to go. Not prison, but just not...
A person of interest?
No, at least on their books.
On their books, that's a better way of putting it. Yeah, exactly.
On the radar.
And the idea that they fear a knock at the door. We all fear a knock at the door these days. It's always...
But everyone does.
Charity.
You don't want anyone coming around to your house.
Send a text.
But also, what really winds me up is that nobody thinks that the people doing their job should be... clearly, there's people making these decisions who I assume know more than me, and then protesters are coming along and saying, no, we're going to interfere with that.
Yeah. This whole story boils down to whether you think the person being detained is the victim or the person breaking a rule, and which is the bigger thing to you. But that's the way that story always goes.